Alright guys, I wanted to go through problem number 3 from the notes today, so you had a chance to listen to it when you had more time to think about it. So we talked about the different transformations. Transformations you can describe before you ever graph it, and it's all about how does the equation compare to the parent graph. Remember, the parent graph is 2 to the x. So I want to see how does this equation differ from this one. Overall, this one, it does have an a value. It's actually right there, but when it's a 1, you usually don't see it. So we see there's something different. There's a negative. And if you remember, when we look at the notes at the top, if a is negative, it means it's going to reflect across the asymptote. So part of our transformations we want to talk about is it's going to reflect. Okay? Alright, so what else do we have? We have a 4 in that A spot. That's going to be a stretch by 4. Our B value, here it's 2, here it's 1/4. How does that compare? Well, this is a growth. This is going to be a decay because it's between 0 and 1. Decay by 1/4. Up in the x, you see it's 2 to the x here, it's to just the x here. That means the graph's not going left or right, so we're not going to mention it because it's staying the same. And then at the end of the equation, I have a -1, where I do not have that here. Really, that's saying plus 0. So here my asymptote is 0, but now it's -1 in this one, so we're going to say the whole graph is going to move down 1. So going through the transformations, you need to check each piece and see how it's changing from the parent graph. Now I'm going to put the equation into my calculator. You can do this on Desmos. Alright, so we're going to go into y equals, I'm going to put -4, 1 divided by 4. My x is in the exponent, so I go up, and then I got to drop back down to go -1, so I'm going to arrow over so it drops back down, -1. And I just double check, does this look like that? It does. I'm going to go look at my table of values. So when I come up here to where x is -2, I see y is -65. When x is -1, y is -17. When x is 0, y is -5, and I got -2, and then I got a -1.25. So these are just some of the points to get me started. I can kind of guesstimate what's happening after I get these points on there. So I'm going to take a look at the graph. Remember, on our equation, I have a -1 in the K spot, so that means my asymptote is at -1, so I'm just going to draw this in to help me see it. So I don't want to cross over that line. Okay? Then I'm going to graph my points. So I've got -2, -65. Well, I can't graph that. My graph's not big enough, so I'm not going to worry about it. -1, -17. 0, -5. 1, -2. And 2, -1.25, so one whole one just, and I know each time I'm going to get closer and closer to that asymptote, so I can kind of estimate and just have it run along just above the asymptote there. Alright, so once I have this graph done, I'm going to go ahead and answer these other questions so I can see the whole process at once. We did our transformations based on the parent graph and how it differs from this one. The domain on the left and the right hand side of the graph is never ending, so it goes all the way from the left to the right, which we are writing as -infinity, +infinity. Your range, remember, you read from the bottom of the graph and up. So when I hit the bottom of the graph, there is actual exponential graph down here. So we're at -infinity, and it's going to keep going up until it comes to the asymptote, which is at -1. So that is going to be my range, -infinity to -1. Remember, we're using parentheses on this because you can't be equal to either of those values. Growth, decay, or neither. So if this did not have the negative on this, this would have been a decay. But once you have an A is negative, it's automatically going to be this. And our final question for today is, what is the asymptote? Remember, your asymptote is this K value on the end. So your asymptote is -1, but we're going to always write it like a line because it is a line. Y equals -1. Hopefully this was helpful to you, and I'll see you tomorrow.